You're listening to the Simplify Business with Brinie podcast. I help simplify business and marketing for time-poor busy women who run passion-fueled businesses. Listen in each week as I share bite-sized business tips designed to not only empower you, but to help make your business life simpler. Hello and welcome to another week's episode of the Simplify Your Business with Brinie podcast. I'm your host, Brinie, and guys, this week we're talking all about the power of simplicity in your passion-filled business. Now, just need to go back a little bit, and that's to when I was working for Master Foods, okay? Now, the reason this is important is not because of the degree on the wall, is because when I learned, a real passion for being in business, I learned from big FMCG companies, okay, like Master Foods, fast-moving consumer goods. And those businesses are huge. You can work wherever you want around the world, around the country, there's facilities everywhere. So when I then took the step and went into working for myself, I didn't start small. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I needed to have a niche and all that kind of stuff. But I actually grew very quickly with my offers because I didn't understand the power of simplicity for growth. I just knew what I'd seen, which was big business, and I was trying to franchise and I was trying to get in everywhere. And so I had all these offers and so many ways people could contact me and book, and I needed to be available at all time and blah, blah, blah. You've heard the stories. Now, the problem was when it came time to make a decision between, well, I can't keep working this many hours for this much money, if I'm also going to be a really present parent. Those two things didn't go hand in hand. So I had to make a decision, and the decision was made that I'd keep the business, but I needed to simplify it. There had to be an easier way of running this thing. And of course there was. It was so obvious when I got down to it. But at the time, it was really tricky. Because, see, you don't know what you don't know. And I was an A-type personality. I'm a hustler. And many of the women I work with are hustlers. And so we were out there rolling sleeves up, just doing everything we could to make these businesses work. And so to come back and to really step back and say, well, how could this work with me doing less? That actually doesn't translate. Okay? So the key point I want to drive home here is that it all worked out for the best, and I was able to streamline and simplify my business operations. And that led to increased efficiency, right? That led to all this work being able to be done in my business without me having to be the one to do it. And I still remember sitting there one day and someone had booked online and had paid, and I hadn't taken a call. They hadn't come to me first. I hadn't had to be on the phone. I hadn't had to check the diary. I hadn't had to check if staff were available. They booked online and paid, and it was done. And I was blown away. That was the dream. I also felt a little bit sad inside, but at the same time, that was the dream. I could see how this was possible. Now, that's to share with you what is possible. But I want you to understand that simplifying your business operations actually isn't as easy as people make it out. Because if you've been doing something the same way a really long time, it can be really tricky to then step back. Because for me, for example, I'm someone who was always taught that hard work was important and things worth having or worth doing were worth fighting for. And so I had this real hustle mentality. And so a big part of simplifying my business wasn't actually the doing, because once you know how, it's so satisfying to implement all those strategies in your business. But you have to jump back a bit. You have to learn the mindset shifts that have to occur before you're comfortable enough to step back and let your business operate without you doing all the things. And right now, I'm actually talking about, there were staff, but it was also automations. It wasn't me doing all the work. It was happening without me. And it was a joyous thing once it was done, but it took me a really long time to say, well, who am I if I'm not hustling all the time? What does this mean if I'm making my business easier on myself? Like, what does this mean in terms of who I am as a person? So the one thing I want to ask you as a working mama who is trying to balance business and motherhood is, what is the value of your time? Because the power of simplicity in your business is actually directly linked to the value of your time, okay? And for a lot of women, it's probably one of the first exercises we do when they come in and say, well, I want to double my income, but I don't want to, like I'm at breaking point. And I love that, because that's the crux at which people walk away. You think, well, I can't work anymore. I can't bring in any more income because I don't have any more time. And so we get right to the nuts and bolts very quickly. And we do a time cost analysis, essentially, where we work out how much you are making for every hour you're working in your business. And if it's a really low number per hour, and you could go and make that stacking shelves at Woolies, or you could go and make that, working part-time anywhere, then at that point, it becomes a no-brainer to learn to simplify your business. It becomes a no-brainer to go, well, what am I doing? I'm doing all this work. I'm working 90-hour weeks, or how many hours you're working in your business, and I'm sacrificing time with my family. I'm sacrificing being at after school events. I'm sacrificing, working at the canteen if that's what you want to do, or dropping my kids off to their activities, because I'm hustling, but for what? And it's a really powerful activity that results in you understanding the power of simplicity in your business. It's an activity I had to do. I had to go through it myself. But what it does is it lets you see the value of your time in a very real way. And then you can then understand how your time can be used far more efficiently and effectively in your business, in your family, but also just in your life, so we can have this really balanced way of living. So the best example I've got is the one I've shared, is this onboarding experience for me. I really felt like this mom had to know who I was, and, know what I was about, and know how the party was going to run, and know who was turning up, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, at the end of the day, she didn't care. She didn't care about all that. I was able to get that information to her in a different way. But my time was better spent training staff, or building operations, or, marketing my business than it was on that one call that may or may not end in a booking. And the power of that change, just simplifying that one operation in my business, meant that I could be out there marketing more, and the bookings would come through, and I was not doing any more work. I was just doing the work I wanted to be doing. It meant that I could close my laptop at the end of the day and be with my kids and my husband and do what I needed to do there, get myself to the gym, because that part of my business, that generating sales, was happening automatically. It could happen when my laptop was open or closed. It wasn't going to matter if my laptop was open, because those sales were coming in. It was an automated process. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this episode, is that you do not have to be doing everything in your business. And I understand that you might be listening to this going, well, yeah, but Brinie, you don't know my business. You don't know all the moving parts that I have to do. I understand what it's like to feel like the way you have set up your business is the only way that you can continue to run it. And what I want you to take away from this episode is that is not the case. And in fact, that's the wrong way to look at your business. Because your business doesn't control you, you control your business. Just in the same way you control your life. And the only way in which you can do that is to really take a big step back and take a look at where you're spending your time and how long you're spending in your business. And honestly, what is an hour of your time worth in dollar figures? And where are you spending your very, very precious time? Because time is the one component we can't get back. We can always make more money, always, but we can't make time. Your dreams are so very important. They're so important. But I can 100% guarantee you that there are smarter ways of achieving those goals than you grinding away every single day, every single hour of every single day. All right, I'm going to leave it there for this week. As always, stay inspired and empowered, and I'll speak to you next week. Bye.